Hammerhead worms are fascinating creatures. They are flatworms named for their unique spade-shaped heads. These worms are not native to North America. They are an invasive species originating from tropical and subtropical regions of the world. Hammerhead worms are predators, feeding on earthworms, slugs, and other invertebrates. Hammerhead worms are land planarians, a group of flatworms known for their regenerative abilities. If cut into pieces, each piece can regenerate into a new worm. This remarkable ability makes them particularly resilient and difficult to control. Hammerhead worms thrive in warm, humid environments. They are often found in gardens, under rocks and logs, and in leaf litter. Hammerhead worms are nocturnal creatures, emerging at night to hunt for prey. They secrete a sticky mucus that immobilizes their prey. The worms then use a feeding tube called a pharynx to suck out the liquefied insides of their victims. Hammerhead worms are not harmful to plants. However, their predatory nature can disrupt the ecological balance of gardens and other ecosystems. Hammerhead worms are not directly parasitic to pets. They do not burrow into their skin or live inside their bodies. However, pets can indirectly contract hammerhead worms through contact with contaminated soil or prey. Pets, especially curious dogs, may encounter hammerhead worms during their outdoor explorations. Hammerhead worms secrete a potent neurotoxin called tetrodotoxin. This toxin is the same one found in pufferfish and is highly poisonous. Pets can become exposed to tetrodotoxin by ingesting hammerhead worms or by licking their fur after coming into contact with the worms. While hammerhead worms do not actively seek out pets as hosts, accidental ingestion or contact can have serious health consequences. The risk of pets contracting hammerhead worms is higher in areas where these worms are prevalent. Pets that have access to gardens, parks, or other outdoor areas with moist soil and ample leaf litter are more likely to encounter these creatures. It is important for pet owners to be aware of the potential risks associated with hammerhead worms, especially if they live in areas where these worms are common. Pets, particularly dogs, can exhibit a range of symptoms after coming into contact with hammerhead worms or ingesting them. These symptoms are primarily due to the neurotoxin tetrodotoxin produced by the worms. The severity of symptoms can vary depending on the level of exposure and the size of the pet. Common symptoms of hammerhead worm exposure in pets include vomiting, drooling, lethargy, loss of appetite, and tremors. In severe cases, pets may experience seizures, paralysis, or even death. It's important to note that these symptoms can also be indicative of other health conditions. Therefore, it is crucial to consult a veterinarian immediately if your pet exhibits any of these symptoms, especially if you suspect potential exposure to hammerhead worms. Early diagnosis and treatment are crucial in managing hammerhead worm poisoning in pets. The veterinarian will conduct a physical examination and may recommend blood tests or other diagnostic procedures to rule out other potential causes of the symptoms. Informing the veterinarian about any recent outdoor activities or potential exposure to hammerhead worms can aid in accurate diagnosis and prompt treatment. There is no specific antidote for tetrodotoxin poisoning caused by hammerhead worms. Treatment focuses on managing the symptoms and providing supportive care to help the pet recover. The veterinarian may induce vomiting to remove any remaining worm fragments from the pet's stomach. Activated charcoal may be administered to absorb the toxin and prevent further absorption into the bloodstream. Intravenous fluids are often provided to prevent dehydration and support organ function. Medications may be prescribed to control seizures, tremors, and other neurological symptoms. The pet may require hospitalization for close monitoring and intensive care, depending on the severity of the poisoning. The recovery process can take several days to weeks, and the prognosis depends on the amount of toxin ingested and the timeliness of treatment. Prevention is key in protecting pets from hammerhead worm poisoning. Pet owners should be vigilant in areas where these worms are prevalent. Regularly inspecting gardens, yards, and other outdoor areas for signs of hammerhead worms can help minimize the risk of exposure. Preventing pets from scavenging or eating unknown objects during walks or playtime can further reduce the chances of ingestion. While hammerhead worms are not directly parasitic to humans, they can still pose potential health risks. The neurotoxin tetrodotoxin they produce is highly potent and can be harmful if ingested or absorbed through open wounds. While there are no documented cases of severe human poisoning from hammerhead worms, it's essential to exercise caution and avoid direct contact. Direct handling of hammerhead worms should be avoided, especially with bare hands. The worm's mucus can irritate the skin, and there is a risk of accidental ingestion of the toxin. If contact with a hammerhead worm occurs, wash the affected area thoroughly with soap and water. Children should be educated about the potential dangers of hammerhead worms and discouraged from touching or playing with them. It's important to note that hammerhead worms are not aggressive towards humans. They do not bite or sting. However, their presence in gardens and other outdoor areas warrants caution. Maintaining good hygiene practices, such as washing hands thoroughly after gardening and avoiding ingestion of soil or unknown objects, can significantly reduce the risk of exposure to hammerhead worm toxins. Hammerhead worms are an invasive species that have spread to various parts of Canada and the United States. Their prevalence is higher in regions with warm, humid climates. These worms thrive in moist environments with ample organic matter, such as gardens, parks, and forests. In Canada, hammerhead worms have been reported in southern Ontario, Quebec, and British Columbia. The mild winters and humid summers in these regions provide ideal conditions for these worms to thrive. In the United States, hammerhead worm sightings are common in the southeastern states, including Florida, Georgia, Alabama, and South Carolina. The warm, humid climate and abundant rainfall in these areas create favorable habitats for these invasive creatures. The spread of hammerhead worms is often attributed to the movement of soil, plants, and other organic materials. These worms can easily hitchhike on potted plants, gardening tools, and even vehicles. As climate change continues to alter temperature and precipitation patterns, the range of hammerhead worms is expected to expand further north. Preventing hammerhead worm encounters and potential poisoning requires a multi-pronged approach. Awareness, vigilance, and good hygiene practices are crucial in protecting both pets and humans. By implementing these preventive measures, you can minimize the risk of hammerhead worm exposure and maintain a safe environment for yourself and your furry companions. Regularly inspect your garden, yard, and other outdoor areas for signs of hammerhead worms. Pay attention to moist areas with leaf litter, under rocks and logs, and around flower pots. If you spot any hammerhead worms, avoid direct contact and wear gloves when removing them. Dispose of them properly by sealing them in a plastic bag and placing them in the trash. Prevent your pets from scavenging or eating unknown objects during walks or playtime. Keep them on a leash in areas where hammerhead worms may be present. Train your pets to leave it if they encounter something suspicious on the ground. Regularly check your pet's fur for any signs of worms or mucus after outdoor activities. If you suspect your pet has come into contact with a hammerhead worm, contact your veterinarian immediately. Maintaining good hygiene practices is essential in preventing accidental ingestion of hammerhead worm toxins. Wash your hands thoroughly with soap and water after gardening or spending time outdoors. Teach children to avoid touching or playing with hammerhead worms and to wash their hands thoroughly after playing in the garden. By following these preventive measures, you can significantly reduce the risk of hammerhead worm encounters and protect the health of your family and pets. If you think this video is helpful, please like and subscribe so we can promote more informative videos.